Cheltenham Festival means everything. It's the pinnacle of the whole year. It's where most of the money can be made. It's what the whole season leads up to.
It's the pinnacle. It's like the Olympics. It is the holy grail of national hunt racing, as far as I'm concerned.
A lot of people will tell you that it's become too big, but I think that's absolute nonsense, really. I evolved my whole year around Cheltenham.
I know people will downplay it, say that, oh, it's not good for the sport, it's not all about Cheltenham, but it is all about Cheltenham. They are targeted towards these races, and I think it helps from a punting perspective and a race understanding perspective that you know during the season they're going to be building up to a peak, and the fact that it's mostly geared around Cheltenham just makes it easier to single out where they're probably going to try and get these horses to peak.
It's an outstanding week. That week would be the first week I booked off. It come before anything.
I'll take the week off of work. Most of my friends will take the week off of work. It's bigger than Christmas. It's bigger than my birthday. It's basically Christmas for adults, isn't it?
There's a lot of standout moments. I mean, you can go back to Vitor winning the Ryanair in incredible fashion. The return of Sprinter Sacra, coming back to win the Champion Chase.
2011, when Big Bucks won his third World Hurdle, I didn't realise at the time, like watching it first time round, that Ruby Walsh had actually dropped his whip. But there was a whole build-up to that meeting. Grand Cru was the young pretender. Hadn't really done anything for me beforehand, won a couple of handicaps, but then he went and beat Nakara Bow in the Cleve Hurdle and absolutely destroyed him under a penalty. Ruby Walsh dropped his whip, so it was all the horse that did the winning, but Big Bucks was a horse that I'd backed a couple of seasons prior, and he was just one that I felt connected to. Like, I'd see him in the pre-parade when you could look him in the eye and you felt like you were like almost at one with the horse. I know it sounds cheesy. There are a handful of horses that I've had that sort of feeling with, and then seeing him go and do that, obviously I was on him as well, so to make a few quid out of it was even sweeter. But it was just the performance. Like, I don't think there's been a single better performance at Cheltenham for me.
I think the one moment that meant the most to me was, it was very recent. It was last year when Champ won the RSA, came home, steamed home up that hill. He looked like he had absolutely no chance even at the last. And the way he come home up that hill was just, I don't think you'll ever see anything like it again. It was quite remarkable. We was in the Guinness Village at the time, quite a few of us, Dave was there as well, and it was just elation. It was absolute celebration, and it just made the whole week, because it was a horse that I'd followed for so long in his whole career. He let me down the year before in the Ballymore at a massive price, and then he duly obliged last year in the RSA. It's a moment I will never forget.
My name's Dave Young, aka Cheltenham Mentor. I'm a Colossus Bet syndicate captain and content provider. So the earliest memories of horse racing is mostly my dad just winning on a Saturday. Me and my dad do lots of stuff together, football, home and away games. Then when we moved up here, there was a local dog track and we frequented that Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, Sunday. As I got a bit older, towards the age of being able to legally gamble, we decided to start going into horse racing. And I just remember going to a few all-weather meetings with my dad to begin with, anything really where there was horses involved. But it was when he took me to Cheltenham, that's what really captured my enthusiasm for horses.
I'm Daryl Carter, professional tipster and Colossus captain. Earliest memories of horse racing, my mum and dad used to take us every Christmas, every Boxing Day, like a lot of families do, we went to Fontwell. Fontwell's just up the road from here. And we used to go there every Christmas. My granddad used to always, when we used to go around his house every Sunday, he'd always be in his chair watching the horse racing on the TV. That was at a real young age, so it was always there or thereabouts. It wasn't until I was about 16 or 17, I suppose, that I started really taking notice of horse racing. I was always just fascinated. And then my cousin Sam used to send me a couple of tips here and there as I was getting a bit older. And then I just wanted to know about this world. My granddad was watching it, my cousin Sam was sending me tips, my best mate was off punting horses. I just wanted to know about it.
So I used to work in a betting shop, I was a betting shop manager. Watching horses on the big screen, that was when I first started to really start watching horses. We'd been to like a few other horse racing meetings before, but going to Cheltenham and then seeing the crowds, just seeing the gravitas of everything, like the music that goes around with it, seeing them come in, it just felt like that was the only place where anything was happening at that moment. And then we started going year after year, and then seeing these horses come back year after year, winning the younger races, so the novice hurdles, then going on to win champion hurdles or novice hurdles and then winning chase races. The fact that you see them doing it over and over again just made me think this is something that I want to be a part of.
I remember there was a result. I can't quite remember the horses, but a horse had reversed form over the same track and trip with another horse that had previously been beaten by the week before, and I just couldn't work out how that was possible at the beginning. So it really suckered me in, and I just really wanted to solve the puzzle. It became like a puzzle. So every race became like a puzzle with the different weights, different tracks, trips, different jocks. There were so many variables to look at, it almost was daunting at first and it was almost overwhelming. But once you really start getting into it and you start finding patterns and you start seeing the right sort of things, it really is fascinating.
So I do have a full-time job, so this is something that I do on the side. Obviously there's 24 hours in a day. I'm only supposed to work 8 for my proper company, so that gives me 16 hours to think about Cheltenham. And I know it sounds drastic, but I probably am. It's sleeping, I still think about it, I'm still dreaming about it. It's just nice because I spend so much time and effort into Cheltenham Festival. Obviously horse racing as a whole, there's too many races to be looking at, there's too many meetings to be focused on. So I feel like by narrowing down to what I class as the cream of the crop Cheltenham Festival, I can be pretty reasonable at it while holding down a proper job, and I think I can make a few quid out of it on the side.
I was a scaffolder for 12 years. I was scaffolding for 12 years. I sort of did everything that I wanted to do. Just got to the point where I was sort of looking at my future, and I'm 32. I was sort of looking at the future, and I was thinking, my body aches. It's wet, it's raining all the time. It's a very, very tough job, and you got to give it up to anybody that does it. I did it for 12 years, and I just thought, in the future, am I going to be able to sustain this? And the answer is no, you can't sustain this. And I needed something to fall back on, and I was loving horse racing to the point where I was feeling like I was missing out when I was going to work. I genuinely feel like I was missing out. And I think the one thing that I didn't have enough of was time. And I wanted to put more time into it. I'm not happy at my current job working full time. This is my passion, this is what I want to do, and the results were really starting to be more consistent and to allow me to take the step. I'm in this office 13 hours a day, minimum. But I'm doing that for myself, whereas the scaffolding side, it kind of got to the point where I was earning money for a lot of other people and I was miserable doing it. I started picking up small tipster jobs on the side. Got to the point where I had to make a decision, and I eventually ended up choosing happiness really over money.
Right, Dazzler? Not bad. So Cheltenham came about because I had too many people texting me on a daily basis, what do you fancy, what do you fancy, what do you fancy? So I just said, you know what guys, I'm just going to put it in one place for you all to look at. I couldn't be bothered to set up a website. I thought Facebook would be the easiest place to do it. Started off with about 80 people that I sent an invite out to, and there's now 13,000 people following me. Obviously must be doing something right. So this is my Cheltenham winners wall. It's also the door that I'll go out to every time I go horse racing, like a little bit of a lucky shrine. Football players attack the sign, I do exactly the same. When I go to the festival, there's always horses that might make me a reasonable amount of money. Any horse that has done that has earned a spot on this wall. So 2013, you'll see, was a very good year, new one. The Fly regaining the crown was insane. Arcana winning the Triumph, absolutely bolted up.
Annie Power, I got, that picture over in the corner was the Punchestown run after she had fallen, I think, at the Cheltenham Festival that year. Cost everybody an absolute fortune. And then I got her framed up the following year because it was retribution the following year when she finally jumped the hurdle. Remember the commentator saying, this time there's no mistake, and everybody was cheering because I can't tell you how many people lost so much money that year, including myself. I think I had about 5 or 6 ACCAs running on her that year, so it was mad.
2016, we all would have had a good year then. Thistle Crack, Annie Power. This one though, this is Might Bite. Might Bite, when he won the King George, he paid for Christmas for the next few years, let's just say that, but I had to get him done.
Obviously over there is the racing paper. That was one of my first gigs when I was tipping. One of my first real proper gigs. It was a national newspaper, and that was one of the first spreads I did, so I wanted to keep that. It ain't about how hard you hit. It's not obviously a horse racing photo, but it's something that I quite like in terms of what it means. And when you get a lot of stick in this game for being a tipster, or you're not doing so well, you sometimes honestly you feel like the world is ending. You feel like you don't know what you're doing anymore. You feel like you've lost all respect of everybody, and it's just a thing to remind me just to keep moving forward.
So I think the key is, for anyone that's trying to look at doing this and hold down a job, have a family, all those bits and pieces, you really do need to narrow down what you're going to be looking at. So I'm a graded snob. I much prefer looking at the better classed horses. I just feel that you get a bit more consistency in there, and I know that I can put enough effort and attention into each of those races and runners that I know I'm giving myself a strong opinion. So you really do need to narrow down your pool and find out which area it is you want to look at. You also need to pick your battle. So you can, obviously the Cheltenham Festival is the main focus for me. There's 28 races to get involved with. And also, if you look at the form deep enough, and I know obviously some people don't know how deep to go into them, but if you look at the form deep enough, you will be able to find the winner. The winners are normally quite obvious to you. So researching a race, the main thing is just previous experience. So watching previous races of horses, I'll have formed an opinion of them. I'll have a short list of horses that I'm keen on for next time out. Then when it comes to that particular race, normally the Racing Post website will go in there. We'll see the form of the horses, and I'll have a bit of a view of what I fancied in the first place. I'm an analytical person. I'm a data analyst by trade, so I do start looking to numbers and things like that for horses. But mainly, the number one thing that I think anyone can have as an edge is your own opinion. I used to bet in running for a short period on race courses, and I was taught there to watch how a horse is running as opposed to what the jockey's doing. And I know now that that's paramount to finding winners.
I'm completely self-taught, and that is just through hours and hours and hours of looking, learning, watching. There's no real books that's going to tell you how to do things and how to bet, etc. Everything you do in life is a risk. So you're always taking risks because other people are relying on your knowledge and on your tips. Essentially, I can take the losses. My betting bank can take the losses. Some other people might not be able to. You should gamble responsibly, of course, but when you're advising other people, I'm quite sensitive in terms of I take, like, you can get a lot of trolls and stuff like that on Twitter if you have losing tips and that. And to be completely honest with you, I'm not great at taking that. I'm not as hard-skinned as I thought I was. Wins and lose-ups, and it's not the truth. I've screamed this office down a few times, and that is God's honest truth. I do try and leave it all in this office, though. When I do get wound up, I'll go and take the dog for a walk or something and try and relax. Definitely, a day losing on the tips is worse than a day losing. Ultimately, you're betting responsibly. Your betting bank has got to last you a long, long time. Every day is a new day and it's a fresh start. So if you've had a poor day, there's no chasing involved because the betting bank's there to take the poor day, and tomorrow's a new day. Like, for instance, today there's absolutely no horse racing. There's absolutely no bets for me to have today. I'll have a look in running later on and I'll be watching the running play, but ultimately I'm not going to be going chasing a win because if it's not there, it's not there. Every day, without fail, I'll be in here by 6 o'clock in the morning. Every single day. And the reason I do that is, like, I know I could have a lay-in or whatever, but the reason I like to do that is because I want to be up, be fresh and be out. I don't want to get to the point where you get lazy and you want to lay in. It starts, it's a tumbling effect. So every day trying to be up in here, in at 6 o'clock, turn the computer on, turn the TVs on. I'll just go downstairs, breakfast or whatever, and then sort the dog out. Then I'll be straight up here and we'll be looking at what happened the day before. I'll look back at yesterday, I'll time all the races on the day, see what horses have ran what in terms of the circuit time, compare that to every other race of the day, and then make all the notes and then move forward to the next day's cards.
I normally find that evenings is the best time to study form anyway. We've had the declarations come in during the day, so normally on my lunch break I'll have a look and see what the final fields might be. But then you've got all evening to study the form. The prices don't really hold up overnight anyway, so basically finish work, walk the dog, get dinner ready, start looking at the betting. When it comes to Cheltenham week specifically, I'll be getting excited way out, but I'll book the week off. So as soon as it gets to Friday and I clock off at 5 o'clock from work, it is just all Cheltenham focused. I'll be looking at news, looking at all the declarations, and then just get really excited about it. So from the minute that I wake up to the minute that I go to sleep, Cheltenham week is all I'm thinking about is the horses. So I first heard about Colossus Bets when someone from the team contacted me about potentially writing some content, some blogs, and becoming a syndicate captain.
I think it was actually through Dave, who was doing some content for them and suggested that I'd get involved and get on board. When I first had a look at it, I did actually quite like it. I like the idea of a pools system because there's so many races during the day that you can get down to like 1 or 2 runners, but you can't necessarily be confident on the winner. So having a place pool, especially on a big day like a Saturday, was a big help really.
As soon as I looked at the website, realised it was pool based, I was quite excited. Like the modern functions like cash outs, consolation prizes, just made it a no-brainer for them to play instead of the tote play spot. Even just the graphics and the layout and the design of their website just looks so much more user friendly. So it was something that I was interested in using as a punter myself. The fact of being able to create these syndicates so all my followers on the Facebook page, Twitter could also join in without having to do anything was quite an attractive proposition. And the fact that anyone can become a captain as well. It's not like I'm just a special case. Anyone at home can create these syndicates and do it with their mates.
it was just something that I started incorporating alongside my betting, just as it's a bit of fun as well. There's not so much pressure on it.
So the thing I enjoy most about being a Colossus captain is the winners. There's nothing better than when you land a bet up, because you're doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for everyone else as well. Obviously, it's not so good when you're going for a little bit of a lean spell, but I trust my judgment because they have got the consolations and cash outs in there. I feel like I'm able to assess risk and I'm able to assess value quite well.
It's good fun. I suppose it links quite well with the tipping that I do for a lot of other people as well, because you know, you get that sort of team feeling, and it's nice to sort of win together. And the good thing is that I get to be in charge, and I'm very stubborn, and I get to be in charge of what goes in the place pool selections.
It's just the whole group philosophy of everything. Everyone's in it together.
It's great feeling when a syndicate lands. Use it on a Saturday, the big handicaps. When you can land, you know, a big Saturday card, it feels great. Like I say, win together. It's good fun. That's what I love about being a tipster as well. It's nice to provide people with, you know, with a winner, and yeah, it's a great feeling. I'd much rather tip and land a place sport than back a winner myself. So.
There does feel like there's added pressure because there are other people involved in it. It's not just my money that's being ridden on there. But the beauty of being able to create a syndicate and being part of a team is the fact that we're splitting the stakes. So as far as I'm concerned, we're splitting the risk. Anyone can invest from whatever amount they want, so I trust that people are gambling responsibly. The selections that I create in there, I don't build the tickets too expensive because, again, I want people to be making the right decisions. They want to be following the horses that they fancy as well, and I need to make it affordable so people can buy in.
Very easy to use, but the social aspect of it in terms of winning together, a big group of you getting together on a place ball is what it's all really about. So.
Everyone throws their ticket in the hat at the beginning and it's almost last man standing towards the end. So it's good for me to be bullish, especially there's other syndicate captains out there like Daryl that will do it. If my syndicate comes in and his doesn't, then all the better. But it's nice as well because it's a communal feeling. So if me and my mates were to go racing for the day, I don't want just me to be hoovering up the cash. I'd like everyone to be involved as well. So the fact that I can take the responsibility, they can just put their faith in me and trust that I'm going to do the right thing, just makes it more appealing than sportsbook betting.
The biggest Cheltenham Festival winner for me had to be when I won a monkfish in the Albert Bartlett last year.
So I've been fortunate to have quite a few big winners at Cheltenham. I've been doing all right for well over a decade there now. Probably my most recent and decent winner was Native River, and honestly my heart rate gets racing when there's horses going. I have never been so calm watching a horse run, even though it was going for a chunk of cash. It was just never in doubt. As soon as he jumped that first fence, it was game over.
Banker, I mean, it's got to be Champ. It feels, I know it sounds crazy, a lot of people say, oh, it's just because I like the horse, and maybe it is a little bit of heart over head as well, but I love the horse, and I feel like this year he's just going to cap off and round off the whole journey that I've had with him. Honestly, when I went down to see him at Nicky Henderson's, he's just an absolute picture. He's a gorgeous horse, he's a talented horse. It just feels right, it does. So maybe a little bit of heart over head, but definitely Champ.
The banker of the 2021 Cheltenham Festival is Envoy Elan. There is no answer that anybody else could possibly give. Like, I know price-wise he's plenty short enough anyway, people would say. But if you actually look at the bare form of it and you look at the class that he's got to go up against, he probably is still a bit of value. But the fact does stand that he is the most likely horse to win at the festival, and he will win.